Yeah, thank you guys for being here today. Obviously, end of the season press conference, kind of wrap up 2024 and turn the page on to 2025. So, overall, obviously disappointed with the fact that we are here today and not competing in the playoffs. Certainly didn't expect that coming into the season. But understand for a number of reasons what contributed to the season we had. And I think more than anything, as an organization, we're excited to move on and to remedy some of the issues we had this year. There were a number of circumstances from underperformance with some key players to obviously some critical injuries, and really just not playing at the level we did last year. That said, we have a high level of confidence in the core group of players that we have returning, and we're excited about the young guys that we have on the way as well. So I think, from my perspective, I'm very optimistic on where we are, what we have to look forward to, while acknowledging that we have work to do. And we're extremely motivated to get that work done and make sure that our fans have the opportunity to watch playoff baseball next year. So, with that, happy to take any questions and provide any answers that we can today. So, thank you guys for being here.
Start with Evan down front there.
So, in regards to remedying things, where do you start? Let me just. A little bit of background, right? You guys signed two back-end relievers who were outstanding, right? They did a great job. Both guys are potential free agents. You're losing a bunch of starts potentially from the rotation, and you've got an offense that, I think you would say, underperforms. So where do you start? What becomes the number one priority?
Well, as I look at our identity in 2023, we were an elite offensive unit, and we obviously regressed this year. And I think there's explanation for that regression. The biggest remedy, in my opinion, is improving the guys that we currently have. We need Adolis to bounce back. We need Jonah Heim to bounce back. We need Leody Taveras to take the next step in his development. We need a healthy Josh Young and a healthy Evan Carter. And as you put that together, that's a significant upgrade. That's a bigger upgrade right there than we can get anywhere else in the industry. And so our internal focus is going to be a heavy priority for us in terms of getting the best out of those players. Obviously, you mentioned the starting rotation. I actually feel relatively good about where our rotation sits. You've heard this before, but we're going to pursue pitching. There's no doubt we're going to need more pitching, both in the rotation and in the bullpen. But I am excited about the arms we have. Obviously, Jacob deGrom back healthy at the end of the year to anchor a pitching staff. Tyler Mahle coming off Tommy John. We saw some really good things there. Very excited about him. John Gray dealt with a foot injury all year, was managed to pitch through it, but had some really good stretches for us. Cody Bradford was outstanding. We actually losing him in the middle of the season was a big loss. Cody was doing so well, and the stress fracture in his rib, it was a very odd injury. That said, he came back and finished really strong. There's a core rotation right there that's very solid. We're going to need to add to that. And then, you look at Rocker and Leiter and some of the arms that were in Double-A this year that could potentially reach the big leagues next year. There's some excitement on the pitching side, but Evan, you've heard me say it. You can never have enough pitching. The bullpen is an area we need to address. We need to improve there. Losing, potentially three significant arms, and we've got to find a way to backfill that. We're going to have to get creative in terms of looking at the trade market, the waiver market, and developing our own pitchers as well, which is critical for success on the pitching side. So, but the internal improvements in health on our core guys, I think, is the most significant thing we can accomplish as an organization. And if we do that, and we can become an elite offense again, and I'm very confident in the group we have.
And I one follow-up on that. When you talk about the internal the internal focus being a big part, I think I asked Bochy this 3 different ways the final week of the season, right? But if I oversimplify the issues with the offense, this was not a great fastball hitting team this year. You missed a lot of time. Young and Carter where you are probably two of your best fastball hitters, and they missed a lot of time, so that's part of it. But do you feel like this personnel that's on hand can make the adjustments to hit fastballs?
I do. I mean, I do. I have great confidence. We saw it in 2023. These guys are very capable major league players, and I think the offseason is going to be a great opportunity for these guys to put in a lot of work, build a foundation, and come back hungry in 2025.
Steven?
Chris, you talk about Young and Carter. Obviously, Young at the end of the season, was that any kind of a setback? And then with Carter, where exactly did you see him figuring out and trying to manage what he's dealt with this year?
Yeah, with Evan, I'll start with Evan. He's made real progress. I mean, I think the thing with Evan in the season is that we had a 4 to 6 week timeline that we thought would be enough time for him to recover. And in the end, it just needed a more significant period of rest. And the time, became more of an 8 to 12 week period. And at that point, shutting him down, we weren't going to be able to get him back by the end of the regular season. He's doing wonderfully. He's been here. He's been rehabbing. He's feeling very good. He'll begin his hitting progression here very soon. But he's doing very well, and we're optimistic he's going to make a full recovery and avoid these issues moving forward. With Josh, it was a setback in terms of, he had a major wrist injury. This was a major injury. He pushed super hard to get back. He made it back. And with the workload, the volume, and just his intensity at which he works, and his pain threshold's really high. And it irritated the tendon around the hardware that was put in his wrist. A good offseason for Josh is going to be really important. I think we can let this thing calm down right now. He'll get a PRP shot to kind of help the healing in there. And I think the hope is that he, with some rest, some extended rest, and then strengthening this winter and not having to rush, he'll be ready to go by spring training.
Jeff?
Is there an Adolis update based on what happened over the weekend?
Yeah, he's getting an MRI on his knee, but I think this is similar to what we saw in the past on maybe a smaller level. We think that with some rest and, we'll see what the MRI says, but we're not overly concerned at this point. Rest and strengthening in a solid off season, we're optimistic he'll be fine. Obviously, the results of the MRI could change that, but right now I think the prognosis is we're relatively optimistic on it.
And, going back to the pitching, a lot of the guys you mentioned didn't have full seasons or haven't had full professional seasons or are coming off of injuries. So whether you guys re-sign Evaldi or Heaney or not, it seems like you're going to need a lot of arms or get very creative as far as piggybacking and stuff. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, again, you can't have enough pitching. I think that's a theme that, yes. And as far as Evo and Andrew go, those are priorities for us. I mean, we love those guys. They helped us win a World Series. We would love to bring those guys back, and we're going to explore every way we can to make that happen, knowing that they may have very good opportunities in the free agent market.
Chris, you went on the radio back, I think, in the middle of August, and were pretty candid in what you expected from the team moving forward, and they responded. They were pretty good. Was that a source of encouragement or frustration for you?
It's a good question, Mac. It probably, for me, it was both. It's encouragement in that I believe in these guys immensely, and I know Bochy feels the same way. We saw this last year in the character of the group, and you hate seeing guys that you believe in struggle to the level that we did this year. And when you do struggle in anything in life, you can get down on yourselves and you can kind of pout, and I'm not saying these guys did it, but naturally you get frustrated. And I think at that point in the season when I made those comments, it was really about looking forward and what we need to do to get better and focus on, we may not be able to reach our goals this year, but let's maintain an identity and a style of play that's going to allow us to succeed moving forward. And, whether the players hear that or not, I don't know. But I think it's important that the public hears it, because I want our fans to know that we're not satisfied with the results this year, and we're going to push hard to fix those, to fix the results. And they deserve a winning team. That's ultimately what we're here to do, is provide our fans a winning team. And so, the messaging, Bochy is responsible for the messaging to the players. I think mine is more public facing, and the messaging to our fans. And I can't say whether or not the players heard it. I am proud of the way the group finished the season, the way they fought, and some of the young guys got opportunities to come up here and contribute. And I thought we saw some positive signs there too. So. I can't say it was a source of frustration, yes, but I think it was also some encouragement that, hey, we have a lot to play for, and a lot to look forward to moving into 2025.
Bruce, just one quick thing, Bruce. Bruce, you have this really unique history with the World Series, off and on, off and on. What signs do you see there that maybe history could repeat itself here in Texas the way it did in San Francisco?
Yeah, just to touch on what CY was just talking about. We have to be encouraged on how we finish, and that was a message that we kept talking about toward the end there. We wanted to finish strong, and for some certain players, I'm talking about Garcia, Heim. You're talking about hitting the fastball. Well, that got better. They made some adjustments, and they were swinging the bat well. The last month, we had a player that was American League Player of the Month. We saw how much he improved. So we saw what this offense can be. Yeah, it got away from us. But what to me was important is how they kept fighting at the end, not just as far as the games, but trying to figure a way to where they could handle the fastball a little bit better. And every season it takes a life of its own, and for us to go through a period of time where we weren't hitting the way we were, or what we were used to in 23, yeah, it was frustrating for all of us, but I think we learned from it, and for us at the end to play the way we did and swing the bats the way we did. Now they're going into an off season. We're going into an off season even more encouraged on how they swung the bat, and really how we just played good defense. I thought the way we came back, we really played some good baseball there, and that's what I felt good about, because it gets so easy to shut down a season when you're out of it, especially when you win the World Series the year before and you're not going to the postseason. But these guys continue to get ready to play a baseball game.
Chris, not to get too deep into the weeds of pitching development and things, but with how Rocker and Leiter came up and performed at the end of September, I guess how encouraging is that for you, looking at, like you said, those arms in AA and just the development of these guys coming in 25, 26?
Yeah, Kenny, I'm very encouraged. It's fun to see young starters come up and one, get some experience. Ultimately, it's about what these guys become in the next 2 to 3 years, and we want to have really homegrown pieces that are staples in our rotation. And I wouldn't say that we're there yet in terms of Kamar and Jack. Cody Bradford certainly is, and we developed one last year in Cole Reagan. So I think that there's some positive signs and trends in our pitching development. I'm very excited about where we are in the system as well with the arms we have. But until these guys are established mid-rotation starters, I'm not going to boast that we've figured it out. But I think we're headed the right direction here.
Bruce, you got back into the game because you saw a chance to win it here, and obviously you did that, but this year was obviously a step back. You're going into the last season of your contract. Have you thought about that and how much longer you want to do this, and do you still feel the fun of getting back that you did last year?
Yeah, I'll start with where I'm at. Yeah, I'm still hungry to get back. I'm disappointed just like all of us. That's why I got back in the game. So we talked about it wasn't a lot of fun to watch all the celebrations when teams clinch. So, no, that's what drives me. It's still there, and that's where I'm at right now. And I'm going to do all I can on my side. And I've talked to the coaches. We're working out, to get this thing back to where we want to be, and that's getting back to the postseason and winning a championship. And if that somehow starts to go away, believe me, I'll know it, but it's not there now. And this is where I know I want to be, is where I'm happy, and it's just it couldn't have worked out better. And so as I go, and we've talked about my situation, believe me, and this is where I will end up. But right now, I want to get this team back to where we were last year, and that's back to the postseason.
Have you thought beyond next year?
I have not, and I said that. My focus right now is to get this team back, and we got some work to do, and that's where it's at. So no, I haven't thought beyond, and just be honest. When you get to my age, it's year to year on trying to get something done. That's where I'm at.
Chris, how far back does Dolly's injury go? Was he having a knee issue early in the season, or
No,
May?
he actually he had a great season health-wise. I mean, he really, last year obviously we had the scare right before the postseason. He was able to make it back, made it through the postseason, the World Series, and then had the oblique injury, which took him out of the end of the World Series. But from a health standpoint, he had a really good year. At the end of the season, he felt a little bit of the knee issue, which was similar to, on a lesser scale, to where it was last year when he missed some time. But this is something he's going to manage moving forward, and I think this year we did a great job of being able to manage that. Bochy and the staff did a great job of finding days to get him off his feet, DH, off days, stuff like that, and we'll continue to do it, not just with Adolis, but with all of our players. The workload management's an important aspect to their recovery and their ability to perform consistently. So I'm not too concerned about it moving forward, but it's not something that was there all season that he was dealing with. It just kind of popped up the last couple of days there.
Chris, with young players, how do you balance, I guess, the risk-reward of looking at constructing this roster and hoping they step up and fill key roles, but also understanding that young players are volatile and
Yeah.
you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket, I guess?
Yeah.
How do you balance that moving forward?
Well, it's a great question, and that's one of the challenging aspects of roster construction, is that you have to account for things that may go wrong. And while we believe our young guys are ready to take the next step, we have to prepare to some level that maybe they won't be. And so I think, one, having internal options within the system, and two, minor league free agents, and then also supplementing in major league free agency in areas that we feel we may be thin. And this year was a little challenging in that regard. I think that the roster did get younger. We felt confident that these guys were ready, and then all of a sudden, a month in, we've lost two core pieces with Evan and Josh, and then you combine that with a couple other guys that got off to slow starts. It sort of piled up on us, and some of that's on me for not having the reinforcements to be able to step in and perform at the level that we needed to sustain the injuries and the underperformance. But you can't account for everything, and so we believe greatly in the guys we have. We know how hard they're going to work. We know they're motivated, and we believe that our coaches can help them take that next step in their development of becoming very solid major league players. And we've seen these guys, especially in the 23 postseason, Evan and Josh, and what they were able to do, Leote, Nate Lowe, these guys all had their moments where they performed on the biggest stage in the game. They're capable major league players, and we know that if we keep them on the field, that there's another step in all of their developments. And Boch referenced what we saw in Wyatt. It's why I'm very optimistic about the core group of this team. That we have a core position player group that's very solid, and but we need to bounce back collectively.
Bruce, personal question for you here. You said you want to be back, but how do you recharge in the off season? You've got your wife, you've got your kids, you got grandkids. Like, how do you balance all of that of trying to get back and being that guy for them, and then also wanting to be back here for this baseball team?
Yeah, I'll take some time off. I'm heading to Nashville tomorrow, and I'm going to take a week off, head to Florida and get some fishing in. I'm taking the grandkids down there, and just to decompress, I guess. And I want the players to do the same. That's what you do. They need to heal up, take some time, and then we'll start ramping up. when you finish the way we did this year, you know you have work to do, and so I'll get things going probably early November, and CY we'll continue to talk. I know we got a Pro Scouts meeting coming up in a couple weeks, and it's pretty much ongoing. But for me, it's what I do. It's what I love to do, and I love to spend time with my family, and it works. They give me my time sometimes when I have to take off, and if it's coming here for the winter meetings, they understand that part of it. I just think it's important to have your time away. I tell the players that, and I'm the same way. And then when spring training and come January is when you really ramp it up. And but the coaches and I will be talking, we'll be meeting, and doing some things that we need to do to get ready for spring training.
And Chris, when does Ray Davis give you kind of a budget of like, hey, this is what we're going to do? And obviously, with things happening with the TV contracts, just don't kind of maybe even some uncertainty, or maybe you have some certainty now about the payroll for next year.
Yeah, I'll meet with Ray and ownership in the coming weeks, and we'll outline where we are, what the expectation is, what the forecast is. Obviously, there is a level of uncertainty with the RSN situation. There was last year, but there are no excuses. There are teams that are winning with less, and our ownership group has done a tremendous job of providing us an incredible amount of resources. It's why we won the 23 World Series, and this year didn't go our way. That said, we expect to build a very good roster with whatever resources we have.
Yep.
What are your guys' thoughts on catcher with Huff out of options and maybe Jonah needing a fewer games? Then also first base with the way Nathaniel finished, but still he wasn't happy with his production.
I'll start, and Bochy can fill in the gaps. But Jonah is he's performed at an all-star level in the past. This year was a down year. It was a really rough year. We saw some signs at the end. We met with Jonah at the end of the season, as we did with most players for exit meetings. He's extremely motivated. He's excited for a great offseason to build the foundation that he felt like he didn't get last year. And catching is a really hard position to find in this game. And so, again, I go back to one of the main goals of this offseason is helping our guys improve and be the players that they can be. And Jonah's one of those players. We're very excited about his ability to bounce back. And if he does, we're going to be in a great spot. Sam, didn't have a great year. We thought we would see him at some point this year, and and really had to go out and trade for Carson at a point in the season where we felt like we were still primed to make a run, that we needed another veteran catcher. And Carson came and did a great job. But Sam's going to have to earn his spot in spring training. It's a performance-based game, and as much as we like Sam and believe there's potential there, it's up to him to perform at a level that makes the decision for us.
Yeah, just on Jonah. The one position I think when you have a championship season where it seems like he will take the heaviest toll on the player is behind the plate. I mean, with the job that he did in 2023 for us, and I'll add to that. I think we all can learn from a losing season more than a winning season, and I think Jonah in particular, because he had such a heavy workload, and so. It's all about making adjustments, with your winter workout, your preparation, and what I liked about what he did at the end. He did make some adjustments with the swing and everything, and he is a guy we have to take care of. He does a great job with the pitching staff. Anytime you have a season the way he had last year, All-Star game, being the catcher that led the staff. I'm sure that took a toll on him, and so I really, really look forward to watching him next year and how he's going to bounce back. And with Huff, it's all about being competitive. Trying to make a team, and so I was hoping he, would have a better season this year. But we'll see. He's got power. He can throw. He can do some things. So he'll be in the mix in spring training.
Oh yeah, with Nate. Nate's overall body of work was really solid. I mean, he had a good year when you look at the total body of work. He got hurt in spring training and missed about a month there at the beginning of the season, and I think it led to a little bit of a slow start when he came back and didn't really find his groove. And then in the last month, I mean, you look at his performance; it was really impressive. And if he can continue to build off what he did in September, I think there's a lot to look forward to with Nate. I mean, in our meeting with Nate, Nate said he has not reached the level of player that he believes he can be, and it was encouraging to hear that. When a player offers that and says that, it's encouraging because it means they're motivated. And Nate seems to believe that, and I think he's right, that there's another level, another gear there for him, and we're excited to see the work that he puts in this offseason to come back next year hungry and achieve that next level.
On the coaches, do you guys expect all of your coaching staff to return?
Yeah, I do expect all the staff members to be back. Obviously, there's things that could change that if other organizations call, but we may shift slightly some minor roles and responsibilities. But in terms of personnel, we expect everybody back.
So they've all been invited back, and if
Yeah,
somebody calls,
yes, yeah, exactly.
On Mahle, made the 3 starts and then he was gone. Is there any concern about where he's at?
In terms of his
Health.
shoulder, no. I mean, he needs a good offseason, and he had, I can't remember his exact timeline on Tommy John, but a 14-month rehab period, and came back and performed relatively well in major league games. Had we always look at the major league innings, but he also had a period of minor league innings as well, and he fatigued there. And this offseason now he's not in rehab mode. He's in training mode, strengthening mode, and it'll be a big offseason for him to build that foundation. And from my own personal experience, there's a big difference between the off seasons where you're rehabbing and everything's kind of you have governors on your workload, and then when you can actually train and push the limits a little bit. And for a lot of our guys, this is now a training off season versus rehab off season. I'm excited to see the progress that they can make.
With the time that he missed at the end of the season, he's not back.
There's nothing.
Rehab.
No, it's rest, and now it's going to be strengthening and training mode for Tyler, and we're very confident that he's going to be fine going into spring training, and we'll stay on top of the workload management and anything that may pop up, not just with him, but with anybody. It's high priority, and our medical staff does a great job. I mean, it's really, maybe it's sometimes too conservative. We're down here telling Bochy that, hey, let's back off a little bit on certain guys, but again, I think it speaks to needing depth, and it's critical for any team's success, and we expect Tyler to be a main pitcher in our rotation, but we're going to need to supplement as well.
And then last thing for me is, as long as we're kind of going around the diamond, Marcus showed up and played 160 or whatever games it was this year, but the numbers were significantly down. How do you guys, I don't expect you to be rolling out your lineup for opening day unless you want to. Do you want to?
Yeah, you want it?
Yeah, that'd be great. But what's your stance on where Marcus is and what you want to see, going into 25?
I'll let Bochy kick this one off.
Yeah, we we did have a meeting with Marcus, like all the players, and Marcus, he'll tell you he didn't have the offensive season that he normally has. And with saying that, I was telling CY, you look at his numbers up there, he scored 100 runs, over 100 runs. He had over 20 home runs and 75 RBIs. That's pretty good for a leadoff guy. I know we've set the bar pretty high, and Marcus has for himself, but it's not a bad season, especially when you look at the back end of our order. they were not getting on base as much as they were in 2023. So we didn't have those chances to knock in those runs. Now, still, I know where you're going, and I did talk to Marcus, about taking some more days off, and what we end up doing with the batting order is something we're still discussing. And but he does give us options where we can hit them. I put him in a 3-hole for a few times this year, and so we'll see where we're at. As we go into spring training, as far as the health of the club, lineup, and those things. And but yeah, I would like to rest him more. But yeah, I think it's going to benefit him. We have the best second baseman in the game, I think. You see how incredible he is at second, the plays he's making. He hasn't lost anything. In fact, I thought, he's moving better this year. Not that he was never moving well, but really incredible job that he did going to his left and right this year.
Yeah, I'll follow up on what Boch said. I mean, with any of our players, as they get into their mid-30s, we want to be cognizant of the workload and making sure that we put these guys in positions to perform at their highest level. Marcus is just unlike any player I've ever been around in terms of he really has. He continues to get better. And I know offensively the body of work may not reflect his best years, but he was out there every day. The example he sets for our guys in terms of his commitment to excellence, showing up, playing through pain, fighting, his care to win. It's everything you could ask for in a player, and it's just amazing to watch him do it. And some of that stubbornness in terms of not wanting off days is what makes him great. And, we need to find the balance there of how to manage his workload and make sure that he stays fresh. So, but Marcus is not one that we're worried about in terms of what he's going to do this offseason. He's going to have a tremendous offseason. He's going to set the example in the weight room here with his work and his leadership with our other guys. And in the exit meeting with Marcus, just like many of the other players, but Marcus specifically, his hunger and desire to win is elite, and that's why he's so great.
Boch, this is outside the Rangers. So with the passing of Pete Rose yesterday, just what recollections or any memories you have, and what legacy do you think he should be remembered for as far as the game of baseball?
Yeah, I'll start with, first of all, I grew up a Reds fan. My dad was a big Reds fan, and so I go back to his early years, back with Frank Robinson was on the club, Veda Pinson, those guys, up to, Johnny Bench, a big red machine. So huge Cincinnati Reds fan and Pete Rose fan. And, I had a lot of times where I was able to talk to him and talk about those days. I was fortunate enough to be catching when he broke the all-time hits record, and that was quite a night there in Cincinnati. But I think his legacy, you look at Pete Rose, is how he played the game. I mean, this guy, on walks, he was called Charlie Hustle, and that's why he was so loved with the passion that he played with the fans. And it's unlike almost any player you've ever seen. This guy never let up on how he went out and played and how he hustled. Played all over the field, had world championships, and so that to me is his legacy, how hard he played.
One more housekeeping thing, and one thing I haven't talked about, but Corey, everything tracking good there, and he should be ready for spring?
Yeah, Corey's doing great. I don't know what week this is in terms of his recovery specifically, but he's doing wonderfully, and we expect him fully recovered and ready for spring training.
We'll do a couple more. Jared?
CY, we spoke, I think like a month ago, we were talking about strikeout to walk ratios from a pitcher standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, so Wyatt was better than league average walk, and then I guess struck out less than the league average from that standpoint. And I think he's the only one at his age, level of experience to do that. I'm just curious when you guys evaluate that sort of thing from a hitter standpoint, I guess what stands out, and maybe what stands out specifically about Wyatt's ability to control both of those elements?
Yeah, well, I mean, not specific to what he did this season in terms of strikeout to walk, but that's the player that we saw when we drafted him. I mean, there were attributes and characteristics that we recognized that we felt like fit what makes a successful major league player. And that's why he was a target, not just for us, for every team. I mean, every team, all 30 teams, would have been in on Wyatt Langford. And it was a great draft class, and so we were lucky to get him at number 4. What's impressed me the most with Wyatt is just his aptitude, his hunger, his work, and his just unwavering belief and commitment to being great. And we saw that over the course of the season. The month he had in September was just phenomenal. I mean, you talk about a rookie year, it is a long season. It is a mental grind. And Wyatt didn't have a full minor league season to prepare him for a full major league season. This is a guy who basically went through half minor leagues, not even a half of a season last year. He comes into his first major league season, first full spring training, and basically a 10-month season, and he's at his best at the very end of it. I think that speaks to the person and the ability that he has, and he just continued to improve and adjust and learn and grow, and the best is yet to come, and I'm so excited about his future. And Bochy can elaborate a little bit more, but he's a special one.
Yeah, he's just for a guy that has the power that he does, and we saw that come, and we knew that would come, because that was a question early in the season. It's so difficult to hit major league pitching now, more than ever, and what he did this year amazes me, and the progress that he made, and he wasn't getting a lot of rest either, and so it tells you how strong and the type of condition he's in. But he's got such a skill to bat the ball skills for a guy that can drive the ball the way he does. His bat stays in the zone, for a long time, and so that works. And that's why he's going to have, those numbers that you're talking about. And he's always going to have that ability to go to right field. He's not all pull, uses the whole field well, drives the ball on both sides. And so his work ethic is what will continue to make him better, because he, as CY touched on, this guy wants to be really good. He wants to be great, and he wants to win. If you see him in the dugout, I talk about Josh Young, but I'll put him in that same boat as Josh, as he's always pulling for his teammates. He's always engaged in the game, and so he's just been a pleasure. And man, the fans are going to love watching this guy for years.
You talk about the aptitude defensively. I mean, he rated really well, and obviously watching him, it seemed like that got better and better and better. And I know he ended the season with an outfield assist, which was great. But what was your assessment of his growth defensively?
Well, I'm sorry.
Please.
Yeah, we said he would get better and better. I mean, this guy did not play a lot of outfield at Florida. He started out as a backup catcher there, and so with reps that would get better, and you see the speed. So that works in center field. He could play right field. He could play any of the outfield positions. I think he likes center field. He has a little bit more freedom out there. But it just gets better and better with him, with especially certain balls like the line drives, some of these balls are hit so hard, and there's adjustment for these outfielders, and that just got so much better. He got more comfortable around the wall, and so I have loved watching this guy's growth, both at the plate and in the outfield. He's a good thrower. He's got a quick release. He's accurate, and so I think he's going to help stop the running game. You saw a great throw he made there in Anaheim there at the end, and he's got the whole game, and that's it's just going to keep getting better, because he works on his defense just like his offense.
Ozzie?
Bochy, one of your former players was recently named president of baseball operations. To what do you attribute some of your former players become president of baseball operations, and do any of your current players you think will one day reach that position? And also, you mentioned you're going to Nashville. Did your house suffer any damage from the storm?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll start with, yeah, that's right. I had 2 former players. I don't know, it's got to be a record, isn't it? Rich, you check that out. But I think, you're talking about 2 really, really smart guys. Buster's that way too. Buster he was a leader on our team, 2010. He just gets it with baseball. And here's a catcher who came up and really changed our club, how he handled the staff and led the club to 3 championships from behind the plate. And I'm not surprised about where he's at now. He's going to provide that same leadership and the role that he has now, and he'll be good. He'll be really good because he has a great feel for the game and for people, and so he's going to be good for baseball there. Yeah, I got a lot of rain in Nashville, in our area, but no damage or anything. So we came out pretty good considering some other areas that got flooded, throughout Georgia, Carolinas, and part of Tennessee.
Okay, we'll do one more, last one from Evan.
We've spent so much time talking about Jonah and Leote and Nate, all 3 guys who are arbitration eligible, and they'll have significant jumps. I don't expect you to say today if you've got decisions on any of those guys, but how does that factor into as you look at this offseason?
Well, it's with everybody. I mean, our job is to put together the best roster we can to compete for a championship next year, and there's a number of ways to do that, and we'll evaluate every way we can to improve this club and give our fans a chance to celebrate playoff berth and hopefully a World Series again. And specific to one player, Evan, I can't predict what that looks like. But we'll have conversations with 29 other clubs. We'll evaluate the free agent market. We'll make sure that we assess our own, both at the big league level and in the system, and leave no stone unturned in terms of ways we can upgrade our roster and make sure that we're back to where we want to be next year.
Okay, we'll end it there. Thank you, everyone, for coming out.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and thanks for asking that question, sorry.